I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. Roll call.
Mrs. Eisenberg? Here. Mr. Sheets?
Here.
Mrs. Kane? Here. Mr. Poole?
Here.
Mrs. Salinas? Here. Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Pappas?
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, if I get approval for our regular meeting agenda, please.
Mr. Pappas, is there still a sign-in for questions? I guess
Yes,
I'll pass it
we'll
away.
ask for,
I'm sorry?
we'll get you at the end.
Okay.
Thank you. I got a motion for the approval of the regular meeting agenda.
I'll make a motion for the approval of the regular meeting.
Tim makes a motion. Do I have a second, please? Angel seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sheets?
Yes.
Mrs. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mrs. Salinas? Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Eisenberg? Yes. Mr. Pappas?
Yes. All right, I'd like to welcome Bill Newkirk here to talk about our audit for this year.
All right. I think most of you know me. My name's Bill Newkirk. From Newkirk and Associates, we've audited the district for several years now. Before you have a bound report. Everything that's bound in there is submitted to the Regional Office of Education and ISB. And I'll highlight just a few things. I'm happy to take any questions if you have them on the audit. If we flip in just 4 or 5 pages, it's actually pages 3 and 4 of the ISB AFR. Page 4 is what's called the financial profile summary. I think I've talked about this a couple times before, but I do want to highlight in particular in this report. So in the lower right corner it says recognition, which is the best financial standard that ISB recognizes. You get a score of 1 to 4, and you guys score 3.9 out of 4. I think I've talked about this before, but there's certain anomalies within this calculation that I personally don't think is the best measure of a financial position of the district. And there's 2 particular things I want to talk about. The only place you lost a point was based on the amount of long-term debt that's outstanding. You guys issued long-term debt that is sitting in fund balance, meaning it's unspent money that you took loans out, and you only lose 1/10 of 1 point for that. You'll notice that that's the bottom metric, and it has a weight of 0.1. The very top metric says fund balance to revenue. What this basically means is they're measuring how much cash you have in the bank versus the revenue you bring in for an entire fiscal year. And that ratio looks good, but it's somewhat inflated because you have these unspent bond proceeds sitting in the bank. And you'll notice that the weight on that score is 0.35. I've seen multiple districts that can issue working cash bonds and either not affect or maybe only affect their score by 0.1, but because it puts cash in the bank, it can increase that top metric by 0.35. And the middle metric there is days cash in the bank, which again, if you've issued working cash bonds, you've increased that and made it look like you can increase your score there. So really you can increase your score by 0.45 a lot of times with only giving up 0.1 on the bottom. So it's strange to me that there would be a metric that they're measuring that you can issue debt and make the district look like it's in a better financial position. That seems generally counterintuitive. So I did want to point that out. So flipping through, the next page is essentially a balance sheet by fund that shows what the fund balance and all the different funds are. Again, working cash has the fund balance because of the bonds that have been issued and unspent. The next 2 pages, 7 and 8, imagine these, the column goes across both pages, and this is essentially an income statement by fund. So each fund goes all the way down. We have revenues and expenditures at the top, any other adjustments, and the third line from the bottom is basically a net income or loss. The next 15 or 20 pages is like a gory detail of all the revenues and expenses. If there aren't any particular questions, I was going to skip back to page 23 now and talk about another anomaly in this report that we've talked about, I think, the last 2 years that I've presented here. Page 23 is a schedule of property taxes. What this essentially does is disclose to the state many counties distribute some property taxes before June 30th. So just north of here, Ogle and DeKalb County, both of them issue property taxes prior to June 30th. So again, going back to those metrics, you're not necessarily apples to apples. If you're comparing to a district that got some of their tax money early, that's really the intent of this schedule. You guys, it's been consistent. The 3 counties where you get property taxes from all bring the money in after July 1, so it all ends up in the same fiscal year, which is good. But it gives us the opportunity to look here. The middle column is the 2017 levy collected, and you brought in 5.8 million. Generally, you move your extension up about 5% every year, as is allowed without a truth in taxation hearing. You can take advantage of EAV growth and things like that. So we would normally expect that the property tax dollars in the next coming year would be higher. But if you look at column E and F are actually the same. That's what we estimate is going to come in during the current fiscal year from the 2018 levy, and that number is lower. The reason is, I think all of you will remember 2 years ago when I delivered here, we talked about a miscalculation on the part of Lee County where they shorted the levy 2 years ago. That was caught up during the fiscal year we're auditing. Going forward, it's going to go back to right. So you have 1 year that was understated, 1 year that's overstated, and then we're going back to where it should have been all along. So what I'm saying is the property tax revenue and surplus that's in this report is somewhat of an anomaly, or it's inflated by the fact that that occurred, and I just want the board to be aware of that. Are there any questions on either of those two things that I talked about? Either, you know, how the debt can manipulate the financial recognition score at the beginning, or the change in property taxes that we've seen for a couple of years now. If not, most of the rest of the report here is just standard ISB forms. I was gonna point out, I always like to just point out in the notes to the financial statements towards the back, we do a schedule of detail, all of the debt, so that's on page notes 14 and 15. Again, ways towards the back once all the pages go portrait again. These 2 pages, on the left-hand side, page 14, we narratively say every debt issuance that the district has. It has what dates they were issued, how much was issued, what the interest rates are. And then on the right-hand page, it has the current year activity and the repayment schedule on all the debt. So I just like to point out, you know, where that is. That has a decent amount of detail of what's coming up in the future. Our audit went really smoothly. All my opinions are unmodified. We have no findings regarding to internal control or single audit or anything like that. I will briefly go through. There's a packet in the very back cover that's not bound in. This does not get sent to ISB. There's certain things that, as an auditor, I am required to put in writing and communicate to the board. Page 1 just kind of explains the purpose of this packet. Pages 2 and 3 is a standard letter that we have where we talk about specific, if we had a disagreement with management or difficulties encountered during the audit. There wasn't anything like that, but I have to put into writing that that was the case. The only thing I would call your attention to is on page 4, we had 1 journal entry during the audit. This was fairly minor. It was in regards to copier leases. The new company bought out the lease of the old one, and that revenue was originally put in Fund 30, which, you know, it wasn't really debt service. I mean, if you put it in Fund 30, it's restricted for debt service purposes, but because the way that it bought the lease out and the education fund actually pays that lease, it should have been put into there. So what this does is actually puts that back into Fund 11, which is within the Ed Fund, your lease levy fund there. So all it did was shift that money back into that fund is essentially what that was doing. Other than that, we didn't make any corrections or adjustments or anything like that. So, you know, other than that particular entry, all the treasurer's reports and things you've been seeing were, you know, accurate and would agree to the penny to everything in our audit. The very last page there is just a letter that basically says we did not identify any material weaknesses as part of the audit. That's a good thing. It again just puts into writing that we didn't have any findings that would be required to be communicated with the board. So,
Question.
yes, sir.
On the second page of this report,
Yes.
under annual financial report, there's an X in adverse. What is that?
Correct.
What is that?
So I issue an adverse opinion on the district's financials. If you go right before the notes after the, my opinion starts on opinion 1, you guys follow the cash basis of accounting. The way that ISB works, they allow you to report on cash basis. That's allowed by Illinois School Code and Fine. But when we issue an opinion, you'll notice the bottom paragraph on this The bottom two have the basis for an adverse opinion on U.S. generally accepted accounting principles, or GAAP. That would be if you were a modified accrual and accrual basis financial statements. Because you don't issue entity-wide financial statements and some of the things that are governed by the Government Accounting Standards Board, and instead you use the ISB AFR and follow cash basis funds the way that you do, we are required to issue an adverse opinion on GAAP. But if you flip to page opinion 2, the very top opinion says unmodified opinion on regulatory basis. What that means, unmodified opinion is a clean opinion. That means that in our opinion, based on our audit evidence, these are properly stated financial statements. Regulatory basis refers to the cash basis as prescribed by ISB and the way that they do the funds, which is different from generally accepted accounting principles or the Government Accounting Standards Board. So that's why I'm required to mark that it is an adverse opinion, but the only reason, and it's all stated in these 3 pages right here, is because you follow a cash basis.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Any other questions on anything that I can address?
I don't think so. Thank you, Bill.
Okay, thank you guys.
We'll take a motion on that in a little bit.
And I do want to mention, and I know that I do this every time there's a presentation, I do want to mention that we are incredibly fortunate to work with Bill and his whole office. When they come in, you know, they come in ready to work and have requested all the materials that they need, so it's kind of, you know, in here in piles. And the other piece is, and I know I've stated this before, but I think it bears repeating, is that I think a lot of times people think, oh my gosh, we're gonna be audited. We look at it as a positive thing, and any time throughout the year when we have a question about anything, in order to place things in you know, the right places, you know, assigning them the correct numbers or what have you, we're always on the phone to Bill and his office, and they're ready to help us throughout the year, so, thank you.
Thank you. Yep. Here's a couple extra copies of the report that you can have.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right, moving on with our meeting. If I could have a motion for the consent agenda, please.
Make a motion for our consent agenda, the disposition of minutes for September 2019, payment of the bills for September 2019, district treasurer's report, interest and activity fund report, and cafeteria report.
Kristen makes a motion. Do I have a second, please?
Second?
Tim seconds. Roll call.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mrs. Canitas?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Eisenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Sheets?
Yes.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes, motion carries. Moving on to our informational items. Did we have any FOIA requests this month?
We did have one FOIA request, that was on October 11th, and that request was for copies of all emails received between IEA NEA Representative Stacy Walton and the superintendent, which would be me, from the past 90 days of negotiations, July through current. Those copies of those emails were submitted to the individual requesting those, and that was taken care of that day.
All right.
Yes. So I have some comments. I wanted to use just a couple minutes to address the public briefly. Just want to say this has been an incredible journey so far, and we're not yet done. The journey has challenged our families, it has challenged our friendships, and even for some of us, it has challenged our personal livelihood. Our character and genuinity of our generosity and dedication questioned. Our kids have been without parents, our jobs have been without their employees. We would not be here if we are not paid. We invest a lot of time and energy to volunteer. I was counting up the hours just this past week spent in meetings or preparing for meetings, taking calls, meeting with citizens, and responding to questions. And this week alone, it's over 35 hours. I don't say this to gain any sort of sympathy because I know we chose this, but I say it as evidence of our commitment to resolution. I say this because many people in the public don't understand difficult school finance. They don't know how much time it takes to learn, to research, and to understand. We're not professional negotiators, we're your neighbors. We're here because you elected us to be stewards of your tax dollars. Please remember that there is only one amount of money from which we can pull. This money covers facilities, unexpected incidents, technology, salaries, benefits, programs, curriculum, and so much more. We are making ourselves available, and we're heartbroken about where this is at. We are all taking pressure from both sides of this disagreement and hopeful for resolution very soon. Just evidenced by the fact that we have more people here than any meeting ever before means that people care, and we hope that this care continues. Do I feel our starting salaries were very low? Yes. Did I feel that we needed to align our district with those around us so we can recruit and retain good teachers? Yes. Have we heard loud and clear from our teachers how important it is that we retain our family insurance plans, even though that's not common in districts around us? Yes. It is our goal to represent what matters most to our teachers that have served our community for many years, but we need to balance that with putting together a starting salary and salary package that is balanced enough to attract new teachers as well as others retire. I don't want to discuss any specifics, but I do encourage everybody to kind of take a step back, take a deep breath, really understand the genuineness that has gone into this, the commitment that has gone into this, and the fact that our hearts are in this just as much as all of yours are. Our kids are home just like yours are, and we look forward to having school back in session. We do have debt. We are deficit spending every year. We've worked really hard to finally get our district back on solid financial ground and stability for the future, and I would love to see that result in things like advances of technology, safety, security, facility upgrades, alongside the increases that the teachers deserve and ultimately will receive.
Thank you. You have something you'd like to?
Yes, I apologize, I had one more informational item. We have an annual report that is the missing persons report, and it's a matter of just simply sharing with you that we have done our due diligence with this, and sad to report that it's some 35 pages long, and it's separated out by gender and police department area, and so we do this annually and make sure that we don't have anyone that is in our district that could be considered missing. So we do not, and I just wanted to share that information with you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to our action items. We received our annual audit just a little bit ago. Is there any comment or discussion needed on that? If I could have a motion, please.
Motion to approve the district audit as presented.
Second, please.
Second.
Tim makes a second. Do I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mrs. Canitas?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Eisenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Sheets?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes, motion carries. All right, discussion approval for maintenance equipment. We've been discussing for a few months that we needed to purchase a new mower, and we've received some bids on that. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I shared it. Does anyone else want to look at the additional quotes that were received? We've been working with Schmitz as far as servicing our lawnmower, and it has reached the end of its life. But the flip side of that is Schmitz also knows what they've done to it and what good shape it's in, relatively speaking. And so, that was one of the places we wanted to look. But we also attained those additional quotes. And as we began to look at this, we tried to put together all of our needs. It's not just as simple as the lawnmower. We had additional needs, and so when we began looking for this, we sought a type of machine that we could use as sort of a combined piece of equipment for snow blowing and things of that nature. We had the need for it, but also, it didn't make sense to have a lawnmower sitting around for a good portion of the year. So that's what's gone into the research behind this, and I think that we have a very good situation that I recommend.
Any questions or comments? If I could have a motion, please.
I make a motion we approve purchase of Grasshopper 727T EFI mower at a total of $16,630, inclusive of $4,500 trade-in.
Larry makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Angel seconds. Roll call.
Mrs. Canitas?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Eisenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Sheets?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
wanted to look through all of the information, that does include all of the snow blow equipment and the cab and so forth that goes with that, so.
Okay. Moving on to resignations. We have one resignation. If I could have a motion, please.
Make a motion to approve the resignation of Amanda Greasley, effective November 1st, 2019, as paraprofessional applicant.
Kristen makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Tim seconds. Roll call.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Eisenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Sheets?
Yes.
Mrs. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mrs. Canitas? Mr. Pappas?
Yes, motion carries. All right. We have one termination. If I could have a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the resignation or
Termination.
termination of employment of Mark Newman as Northbrook custodian effective October 22nd, 2019.
Tim makes a motion. Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Angel seconds. Roll call.
Mrs. Eisenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Sheets?
Yes.
Mrs. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mrs. Canitas?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes, motion carries. And employment of Brett Kelly.
Make a motion to approve the appointment of Brett Kelly as 7th grade boys basketball coach.
Angel makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Sheets?
Yes.
Mrs. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mrs. Canitas?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Eisenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes, motion's carried. All right, this is our time for public comment. As per policy, we will have a minimum of 30 minutes for public participation. Due to the amount of people that are wanting to speak tonight, we will limit it to 2 minutes per person. At that time, when the timer goes off, we ask that you stop your presentation and we'll move on so that everyone has a chance to speak who would like to address the board. We may or may not choose to answer comments at that time. And we will listen to anything that you have to say about negotiations and what's going on there, so.
Point of clarification, you said
Yes.
a minimum of 30 minutes, is it a maximum or a minimum?
That's a minimum.
Minimum of 30 minutes, okay. There is no maximum.
No.
Okay.
We'll go in the order of sign-in, and then anybody else who did not get the chance to sign in, we'll go in that, we'll ask that, do that. So we'll start with Rusty Stakowitz.
Right here somewhere. Thank you for having me up here. First of all, thank you for your service. We really appreciate it. I know it's a difficult time for everybody right now with the negotiations. We understand that. I'm saddened I have to be here. I'm sure you're saddened. I hope you're saddened we're still going through this. I'm really disappointed that we've only met the number of times we have with the MEA. Is there a reason for that? Why negotiations weren't a priority earlier, before we went to mediation or before we went to mediation in June? You're not going to answer directly until we're done.
Oh, I didn't know if you had anything else, I just,
Well, no, I'm going to keep asking questions for my next minute and 15. You want to add them all up, or
we.
it's going to be distracting for you?
We believe we have met a fair number of times and moved the negotiations along appropriately.
Okay. At a fair number of times, you'd think you would have filed a resolution then. The fair number of times is when a resolution's met. That's a fair number of times.
Okay.
However many that needs to be, in my estimation.
And we're still continuing to meet.
I met with members of the MEA today. I took a accountant with me. Have you, as a board, employed a CPA to look at the numbers, to help you with the numbers?
We use our district bookkeeper.
You've not used an outside agency to help with that? Just the
No.
one person, there's no person checking those numbers?
Had an auditor that checked all the numbers and said it was,
Check the numbers. No, I applaud you for the way the audit came out. That's awesome, but they checked all the numbers for your negotiations, what you were presenting? Because it looked like your last offer yesterday, you put in the old numbers for the people who were retiring and not the agreed upon numbers that you had agreed upon of the bachelor's plus 8, I believe, step 3, and you had reverted to their old numbers for the retirees. Final
answer your-
question is, why did you reject their offer that they presented to you yesterday that was lower than the one that you had presented in total number?
There's some miscommunication about that. We are still $323,000 apart right now. Their offer is $323,000 higher than ours.
Over the 3 years?
Yes, sir.
And,
Thank you for your time, though.
okay.
Jim Strauss.
Jim Strauss, my name. I've been part of a community leader for about 70 years now. I've lived in the community. First of all, I'm here I'd like to thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Pappas and the rest of the board. I'm not here to point fingers, okay? I've been on both sides of the table many years. And what happens over the years, if they last too long, the animosity and stuff gets out of control. I was in an 18-month strike, and there's family members that don't talk to each other. So all I'm asking was, put your egos in the closet, put your animosity in the closet. This has to be uno. These negotiations have to be uno. I heard you've got 35 hours. When you signed up for the board, that's a possibility. Sorry. All I'd be asking is, put the family in the back burner. Sorry, put the job in the back burner. The next 3 days are going to be critical, because this continues on. It's going to tear the community apart, and we don't need that. We're not that far apart, guys. You got to have a middle. I understand that. They're not going to get everything. You're not going to get everything. There is a middle out there, and we need to reach it. You need to reach it, and they need to reach it to keep this community together. So, like I said, if you got to work overtime, I'm sorry. It's part of the job. Okay? A little part of the other side, on the fun side, your big wages you get, come on. Been there, done that too. But let's meet together, guys. Put everything aside. I'm sorry you put your families back, put your jobs back. Let's get it done. It ain't that hard. Meet in the middle. Do something. That's all I ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Apologize if I say this wrong. Kara Merkins.
That's me. Most of you probably don't know me here. I'm the parent of a teacher in the district, and I come with a different perspective as not being from the community, but I have served on a school board, I have served on the negotiations committee, and I feel like I can offer a perspective for the people in the crowd and you. I understand what you said. I'm disappointed that you got to speak for as long as you want and we don't. I find that inappropriate. I also wanted to point out some of the facts that we keep quoting, we keep wondering why we're not making progress. I pulled up your board policy. I find a lot of things about the superintendent and the operation of the district, working with the community. I have all these if anybody would like them. Per your board policy, the superintendent shall have the experience and the skills necessary to work effectively and with the board, district employees, students, and community. From what I understand, that's not happening. There isn't communication going back and forth in my experience. I also was actually a math teacher for a few years. It's always been a superintendent as a mediator, and it doesn't seem to be happening, and that is in your board policy. Some of the other things that are in here are that the superintendent should be free from bias, from personal bias, and develop and maintain communication channels between the school and the community. And I think that's what severely is lacking, that we do not have any good communication calls. And I say we as I'm representing my daughter, that I know I'm not from this community. Finally, one of the other things that I would like to bring up as how some people feel they were personally attacked. If you would read your school board policy, it very clearly says that board members will not take individual action that might compromise the board or the district, and it very clearly includes social networking in that. So I hate to break it to you, but you disobeyed your board policy, so you should have been called out on a lot of things. The last thing is the budget. I saw the meeting from the last time. I want to point out that the proposed budget for the budget planning, it should have been available for inspection. People asked questions. They were not allowed to see it. I see it's on your website now. I unfortunately didn't see your September agenda on your website. There's a lot of things you're not following that just aren't out there. One of the last things I want to point out
Thank you for your time,
that
but-
you keep talking about is the your salary. If you go look at your salary increases in there, your district is, out of all the people of your school size, you are 4 of 250 schools of the lowest salary. If you look at all of the schools that
you for
reported
your
in
time.
Illinois, you are 24 out of 870. And that is on the ISBE website. It's available to everyone.
Thank you, Mrs. Merkin. I think is it Ellen or Eden? I'm sorry, I can't. Eden, sorry, thank you.
Hi, my name is Eden, and I'm in 5th grade. We've had a chance to hear everyone's views on the strike, teachers, the Board of Education, and parents, but no one has asked the people that this impacts the most, the students. I'm here to be a voice for the students. I feel sad about the situation because we need our education. I'm in band, and it's hard to learn new songs and notes. With this happening, no one can get better at anything school-related. My teachers in the past have helped me a lot with anxiety. I would get really nervous and not know how to handle it. It's gotten better over the years, but if I didn't have them, I wouldn't be speaking today. With their guidance, they have encouraged me to be a strong and brave person. Us kids really appreciate what the teachers do for us. Please make the money fair. I am speaking for all the students. Thank you for letting me speak today.
Sarah Landers.
Well, that is certainly a hard act to follow. My name is Sarah Landers, and I am a parent of a student at Blackstone this year. She is in kindergarten, and my husband and I, Jeff Landers, we have lived in the community for almost 15 years now. I just want to encourage the board to get together and get back to the negotiations table as soon as possible. For all of the students, it is imperative that we get them back in the classroom and get the teachers back to doing what they are supposed to be doing. I do have one question. Do we have a date set yet for the next meeting with the teachers?
We are confirming tomorrow at 4 p.m.
Okay.
Just waiting on a location, and that should be finalized mid-morning tomorrow.
Great. That is great to hear. I really do hope that you guys can come to a fair agreement for both the teachers and the district. It's really important, and I know my daughter is definitely excited to get back into the classroom, so thank you.
Thank you. Amanda Atherton.
Sorry, I have to read it because otherwise I'll go off the rails. Nobody wants that. My name is Amanda Atherton. I'm a parent of 2 third-grade students at Lincoln School. I wanted to come here tonight to tell you about the amazing teachers and staff that work in 289, which I'm sure you know. Both of my children are very different. One excels in school and everything comes to her very easily. The other child struggles and participates in title groups for math and reading, as both are very difficult for her to grasp. I have encountered many teachers, staff, and principals in the district that go above and beyond to challenge my children and meet them where their needs are. They do a wonderful job every day, and I think the teachers deserve everything that they are asking for and more, but I'm not here to talk about dollars and cents. I'm here to talk about respect. I see that these teachers, the same ones who encourage and inspire my children daily, are beaten down. They can no longer make decisions about what's best for the students. They are micromanaged in how they grade, told how they should teach, and they are not respected by upper administration to effectively do the jobs that they went to school for 4+ years to do. They are left with 25+ children in their classroom and are supposed to individualize instruction. Do you know what you are asking of them? Do you know the planning and time that it takes to meet those demands? Do you know that there are classrooms with behaviors that are astonishing to me as a parent, volunteer, and a former teacher? Do you know that they are answering calls and emails early in the morning and late at night from concerned parents? Excuse me. I want to ask you for one thing, to come to the table with open hearts and open minds about what is demanded of these teachers daily and what they are asking for. I believe they're asking for respect. Respect of their lunch, respect of their planning periods, and respect of the time that they commit outside of contracted time to meet the needs of the children of Mendota. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? If you'd come up, please state your name.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi, my name's Kathy Gibertini. Some of you probably saw my speech at the teachers' rally the other day. I just have one question for you guys. There's a lot of things that have been popping up, but I just really would like to know is what is your number one asset to the school district? What's your number one asset to the school district?
Teachers.
Let's give it to them. We need to end this and get on with our days, and it's going to come back around. We do it now and it'll come back around. I've got grown children that want to come back into this community and give back into this community, but school district is our foundation to this community, and we need to make it right. I think the uncertainty of a lot of things that have been going on in this community are uncertain to people, and people are scared, and I think we just need to make this a stable environment for our school district and our foundation to this whole community. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that'd like to speak?
Can I use up the remainder of the half hour?
Please.
I'm not joking. You have a
Or
minimum
like the
of a half
person who
hour.
brought notes and did a lot of research,
minimum
could
of a
they
half an
have
hour.
more time?
I have more things like that.
Can those of us that are here defer our time to them?
Tag
Uh,
team, tag your Rusty.
Rusty, you can have another 2 minutes.
Wish I didn't have to go first. Jeez. So, like one of the last comments, I came back to this town after being gone for a number of years and chose to raise my family here. And that's what I've done, and that's what I'm still going to do. What do I see is the problem with retention of teachers and attraction of teachers? How many positions do you have open currently?
2.
Why is that?
Teacher shortage.
Teacher shortage. If you pay more, you'll get teachers. If you pay more, you'll get good teachers. They'll stay here like the good teachers we have that have stayed. You've got a very, very low starting wage. You've got to find a way as the board to find more money for the teachers. It may come from somewhere else. If you need help, I can help you. I looked at all the numbers today. A few places you can probably cut money out. I'd be happy to meet with any of you individually or as a group. So can we believe as a community that you've come to an agreement on insurance since the last offer kind of had that off the table? Are the numbers we're at good
What
for
are
the
you
insurance?
Insurance?
Yeah, the insurance numbers weren't included in the last numbers that you presented. It was just TRS and their salary.
There's no agreement on insurance right
Okay.
now.
Sorry, I have a bunch of notes here. What is the board's stance on TRS being paid in full for administration and not for teachers?
It's an administrative perk.
Okay.
Is an extra salary that?
I was gonna say, they get extra salary. They get a single insurance paid for as well, and completely, do they not?
Were we frozen on administrative salaries for a number of years?
Yeah, all of our principal staff was frozen for 3 years on salary, and we increased their TRS during that time.
Okay. Teachers were frozen or at a very small salary increase at that time as well, were they not?
There's histories on that sheet there for you,
Okay.
in the back there.
Did their Did their TRS increase at that time, like the administrators did to make up for it?
In 2014, we increased it to 2% at that time.
From 0?
Yeah.
Most districts you're trying to compete against for teachers are paying it in full. You realize that, correct?
Understood.
Okay. You need to be competitive in the market. I run a business. I own parts of 2 businesses that have offices in this town. You're in charge of a business, be it a not-for-profit business, but you've got to be competitive to attract good help and keep good help. And that's our problem right now, is that you can't do that. I think that a lot of the people standing on the sidewalk out there deserve more money for their job. I know they pay a lot of money back in student loans they had to take out to get this job, and they can do other things. I was a teacher. I was a teacher for 6.5 years. I quit because I couldn't make enough money. I don't want those people quitting because they can't make enough money. That's the future of your town, standing out there. They educate everybody that lives here. That's what happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Russ.
Can I have more? Yes. I just wanted to say, thank you again for your time. Earlier, I didn't get to finish my thoughts about the superintendent. What I was trying to get at is I strongly believe that you are the driving force behind here, that you're the person that we have to go to. They believe in you, the teachers have to believe in you. That's why I looked at this, because I haven't seen a district run like that before. And the town I live in has dual districts. I sat on that board. I taught in 2 other districts. I have not seen one where the superintendent wasn't the driving force. That I really think that's going to be the difference. I think it's going to be you. I don't know how else to do it, what to say about that. One of the other things that I wanted to talk about is, I mentioned I was a math teacher. I currently do data analysis. Data is my thing. That's why I got a lot of paper. I find it very frustrating that you keep presenting information in different ways. I don't think that's good communication. The teachers only have enough information to go off the base salary. I don't know how else they can present things to the community and to the public, or excuse me, that's the same thing. I don't know how else they can present things without using that as their source. And I don't understand why you refuse to use that as a source. Of the base pay. Earlier, when you talk about your percentages, I wrote down what the percentages were for the past couple years, and it's been 1% for quite a while until we go back to 14, 15, and it was 0 off the base pay. All of us have increases in insurance, and we're all aware of that, and we're all aware of how much it goes up. I think generally, well, I know generally, data-wise, we can all say our health insurance went up the same amount. That I don't know why we keep wanting to throw that in the pay, because that's not what we're doing. So I find it very bad data perception for you to present it that way. It's very confusing for people that don't understand what you're doing to understand. And I also want to go back to your comment earlier where you said we have one source of money. Unfortunately, that's not true. You're talking about wages. Your wages come out of a very different budget than your facilities and your transportation. And to present it as one source of money is, again, false representation. I think you need to present things in a much...
The overall, I understand that there's 7 funds, I understand there's a cash reserve, I understand you can transfer money around. Please don't say I'm falsely representing, I'm saying.
Well, you were. You said that there's one source of money.
We only have a controlled amount of income, correct? The state, the local, the federal, whatever money we have coming in. We can't go out and get more. We don't fund.
Yes, you can. You can issue bonds. You can raise taxes.
We're already in debt.
So you can go issue more. So once again, you misstated.
No, I'm saying that there's not an additional.
I hate to be rude, but you didn't. None of us got to ask questions when any of you were talking. So I'm confused why you get to do that at the moment.
You just asked questions and I'm responding.
No, I didn't. I stated a fact. I said that you said there's only one source of money and that was incorrect. So, I'm sorry. I said, I just repeated what you said. Didn't you say there's only one source of money?
Go ahead and finish. We won't interrupt.
Okay, that's all I was trying to say, that it goes to my point of misrepresenting the data and how the community is perceiving it. We can't say there's one source of money and not talk about the funds. We can't talk about the raises without talking about the base pay. And unfortunately, that's just what keeps happening here. I don't think you're going to proceed until you can communicate better, until you can get your facts together. And I'm really confused why you don't have many meetings scheduled ahead of time. I think the community feels the same way. I'm unsure why you're not scheduling 2 or 3 meetings out.
So anybody else like to speak? Like to make a motion to adjourn, please? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you, I apologize.
I'm short, it's okay.
I know either.
Hi, my name is Ashley Petcher. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I have 3 little girls, 2 of which are in this district. My 5th grader that stood up here and spoke to you before, and I have a kindergartner. And I have an education background as well. I guess I just wanted to give my perspective because I mean, I'm sitting at home with these little girls, and they don't understand why they can't go to school. They love school. Like, they don't really like the weekends. They would prefer to be with their teachers and be with their friends and be doing all those fun things that their teachers provide for them. And so, especially my kindergartner, who just got into the swing of things of going to school every day and, you know, packing her own lunch and having all those new adventures, she's thoroughly confused as to what's happening now. And I think it's important that everybody just, I understand that there's a lot going on, but we need to make time. Our teachers are the foundation of everything. I mean, they teach you to read, they teach you to write. None of us would be doing anything that we're doing right now without that foundation. And we have a good foundation out there. So they you should give them your time. Meet with them. And come to some kind of an agreement. They deserve that, to be met with and heard. And I think that that's fair. They're our foundation. So I'm so grateful for them. Without them, I don't know how I would send my kids to school every day. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to make another comment. You can go ahead and time my comment. I just want to say and point out something that everyone keeps bringing up the old figures and looking at the comparisons to districts, and I was the first one to say we were way below where we needed to be. We could not retain and attract new teachers if we kept that, and we definitely need an increase. And I sat in this very same room pushing and advocating and writing things up on the board and talking to everybody to try to keep bringing that number up and up and up and up and up. But like you talked about, negotiation does have to come both ways, and I don't think we're there yet. And while the numbers look the same, I think the fundamental difference is where that money goes in the deal, and whether the money is tied up in a salary schedule that's going to, largest percentages are going to go to the people that are here the longest, and then that base salary isn't going to go up where it needs to be, and it's not going to be incentivizing our new teachers. That's not going to help us attract new teachers. I don't think it's the bottom line right now. I think it's the fundamental difference on how we get to that place of agreement. And the other thing, and so I want you to all know, I never said the teachers were paid well enough, ever. I don't think they are. And that's why we're working and investing so much time to get there. And as far as meeting goes, you know, last night, for example, from 4 p.m. until 3 a.m. this morning, we didn't walk out of there at 3 a.m. as a group until we said, when can we meet again? And we provided all of that availability of time and dates and everything to the mediator. It takes a while to coordinate that between the mediator and the 2 parties. But please don't think that we're saying no. Please don't think that we didn't walk out of there without another meeting scheduled. You may not hear our side because we don't have a voice. We don't have a union speaking for us out there. But we do care, okay? And we are giving as much time as we can, and we are taking off work, and we are staying there through the middle of the night to try to work resolution. We want it just as much as you do. Our kids are home in this school just as much as yours do. So please, the negative, the blame, the yelling, the personal attacks, it's not going to help anybody, and we're all here to try to get to a resolution so we can get back in school. And we wouldn't be here if we didn't care with our heart and soul, and we wouldn't give this much if we didn't care.
Folks, I just want to say, I've been at this 28 years. I've been on it longer than anybody, and it's a tough situation. We're doing the best we can, and we're trying to, we're doing everything we can to make things work out right.
are no other people who'd like to speak, I get a Jim?
Sweet and short. As I stated before, put all the time you need to get this settled, please. I mean, I understand your families, I understand everybody, but we need to have this. The only losers here are our children. They're the only losers. We are affecting you and the community are being affected, but probably 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people are being affected. We're affecting parents, we're affecting grandparents, uncles, aunts. Everybody's involved, so it's a big chore out there. One thing I haven't seen, and I don't know, maybe I missed it, what, an agreement, what would be a cost to the taxpayer increase to a, say, $100,000 house, it would be $10? I don't think I've ever seen that figure. Maybe you've had it out there. I don't know. Huh?
It's not a referendum right now, so we can't.
No, I don't think a referendum. What I'm saying is, if you have a settlement, what it would cost, you know, what it would cost you increase to the taxpayers. I've never seen that cost yet.
Pulling that out of.
Huh?
That would depend on where you're pulling that money from.
Well, I'm saying to settle this contract, are you going to have to raise the taxes?
Again, it comes from where you pull that money out of. If you have one bucket of money and we take all of that bucket of money and put it in one allocation, then we may have to borrow if something else happens. If a roof caves in and we have no savings, we'd have to borrow.
That's
So-
not my question, ma'am.
I understand. but
My
we-
question is, if you have a settlement,
Yes.
where would it have, if you have a settlement on the day's figures, what would it go to the taxpayers? What would it affect the taxpayers on the assessed valuation of their house? On $100,000, what's it based on? Would it be $100, $10? I don't know, because I've never seen a figure out there. Maybe I missed it. Huh?
We haven't put that out.
Well, don't you think it should be put out? I mean, I'm just asking. I mean, it's affecting the taxpayers. They ought to have a figure, what you could work with. I mean, that's how everything's run.
Like we said,
That's where you get your money from, assessed valuation.
we're trying to use the money that we have currently in the bank to work with that.
Bonds that we sold.
I understand. Okay, let's get her done.
Thank you.
My name is Delia Bryson, and I am a third grader at Lincoln School. She's very affected by the strike, as are a lot of other people. I think that I don't want to play the blame game either, because I know that you guys take time away from your families and do a volunteer position, and I applaud you for that. But when you signed up, you knew what it was for, and Chicago Public Schools has been out on strike less time than we have, and they've met more times than we have. And I'm sorry, I think that is really sad. It's sad for our community because it's tearing our community apart, and it's sad for our children. And if you guys don't have the time to negotiate, then maybe we should look into moving into arbitration. Has that been considered as an option yet?
I don't think anyone's ever declined a meeting. We met until 3 o'clock this morning. We're back at it again tomorrow. I don't think anyone's
We're nowhere near the point of needing
in
arbitration.
where both parties are still coming to the table. Both parties are still staying 10, 11, 12 hours into these meetings.
Okay, but 2 meetings and a 7-day strike? And that's sad. You guys wouldn't meet over the weekend, you guys wouldn't meet Sunday, you guys canceled the Sunday meeting and you walked out of Saturdays, so how
We did not
willing?
walk out of Saturdays. We were sitting in a room Saturday when that report came out to the media. It surprised us. We were sitting there in the building.
I'm just saying that we should be meeting more often, daily if necessary, until this is figured out. You know, I know everyone says, oh, your kids aren't suffering, they're home, whatever, but some kids are. My child struggles in certain things, and she's missing out on the extra help that she could be getting right now, because yes, I do work with her at home, but I'm not nearly as qualified as some of our teachers are to be doing what she needs. So we need to be meeting every day until this is figured out, or we need to call in an arbitrator, because this isn't fair to us as a community or our children.
And I don't think anyone denies.
As a parent, I've been through this before, and I was not a board member. Back in 2005, I had 2 children that were young, grade school, that could not be home with nothing. I know exactly how you guys feel, exactly. One of the reasons I'm on the board now.
Okay, then let's start meeting daily and get this done. Our kids need to be in school. They deserve an education. That's what we, who live in this town and pay taxes for, expect.
We absolutely agree with you. Nobody's disagreeing.
Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, we should definitely be meeting more often. If Chicago Public Schools can do it, we should be able to do it too. We're a much smaller community. And if they can meet more often than we can, that's very sad.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please? Second, please.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, Rusty, if you wanna keep talking, I'll listen.
It's gonna cost you $0 if they settle on what they asked for last night. $0, right, Jeff?